There's a reason most women never rise. And it has nothing to do with talent or beauty or brains. It's because from the moment you were born, you were fed a lie. A soft, seductive lie wrapped in politeness, in smiles, in be nice, in sit still, in don't be too much. A lie that said, the less you take up space, the more you'll be loved. And so you shrank. You obeyed. You dimmed your fire to fit the room, thinking it would earn you safety. But here's the truth they never wanted you to hear. You were never meant to be soft. You were meant to be strategic. You were meant to be powerful. You were meant to lead. Not by accident, but by design. Yet they trained you to ignore the war inside, to smile when you're disrespected, to apologize for ambition, to question your own gut. That ends here, because I'm not here to motivate you. I'm here to wake you up. There is a reason the most dangerous men in history feared women with knowledge, with plans, with presence. A smart woman isn't just intelligent, she's unbreakable. But only if she follows the rules. 7 rules, 7 codes of power. Unwritten, but undeniable. Not the kind they teach in school. Not the kind your friends will clap for, but the kind that makes you a legend. If you're still watching, something inside you already knows. You're tired of the noise. You're done performing. You're ready to become the version of you that nobody can manipulate again. Let's start with the first truth, the one they've buried under decades of guilt and shame. Rule 1. She controls her energy like a weapon. Listen, every woman you admire, the CEOs, the empire builders, the women who walk into a room and change the temperature, they all mastered the same thing, energy discipline. Most people bleed energy like a leaking faucet. They pour it into gossip, into fear, into men who drain them, into fake frenemies, TikTok rabbit holes, emotional labor, dead-end jobs. By noon, they're exhausted, not because life is hard, but because they've handed their power to chaos. Not a smart woman. A smart woman rations her fire. She chooses where her mind goes. She protects her peace like it's her last breath. She doesn't waste energy proving her worth to people committed to misunderstanding her. She understands this. Where your energy goes, your life flows. And if your life feels stuck, it's because your attention is chained to something that no longer deserves your loyalty. Wake up. Your future doesn't need more hustle. It needs more focus. You don't owe access to everyone. You don't owe your smile to strangers. You don't owe explanation to critics. You owe your fire to your mission. Because when a woman reclaims her energy, she becomes unpredictable, untouchable, unstoppable. That's rule 1. Now, we go deeper. Rule 2. She treats time like a god, because it is. Let me be clear. Smart women don't manage time. They worship it. While the world scrolls, distracts, and waits for the right moment, she moves like every tick of the clock is a countdown to war. Because it is. You think you have time? That's the first lie. They want you to believe there's always more. More chances, more youth, more time to fix it later. But the truth? Later is the death of power. Smart women know something most people are too scared to admit. You're not behind. You're not early. You're on a timer, and it's running out. The difference between the woman who builds her empire and the one who stays stuck in survival mode? One understood that time is more precious than money, because money can be earned, but time only disappears. So here's what she does differently. She does not wait to feel ready. She does not wait for someone to choose her. She does not keep promises to everyone except herself. She executes every single day. Not because it's easy, but because she knows this. Discipline is divine. While others look for motivation, she builds rituals. While others complain about routines, she turns her schedule into a weapon. She wakes before the world touches her. She plans her days like battle strategies. She guards her mornings like sacred ground, because a woman who controls her mornings owns her destiny. You need to hear this. You can't become elite with a casual relationship to time. You can't keep sleeping in and numbing out and calling it self-care. Smart women don't confuse comfort with healing. They know the truth. Comfort kills queens. If you want to be average, waste time. If you want to be powerful, count it. So here's the rule. If it doesn't build you, don't schedule it. If it drains you, delete it. If it distracts you, distance from it. Because you don't need more time. You need more clarity. You've got 24 hours a day, just like the legends do. The question is, who are you becoming inside of them? Remember this phrase and say it twice in the comments below. I serve time. I do not waste it. Type it. Lock it in. This isn't just a comment. It's a contract. You are not here to float through life. You are here to command it. And that begins by mastering the only currency you'll never get back. Time. Rule 3 will expose the one mindset shift smart women make. The shift that turns betrayal into blueprint and pain into power. It's not about self-love. It's about self-control. Rule 3. She turns pain into power without permission. Let's cut the fluff. The world doesn't care how much it hurt you. It only respects what you do with the hurt. A smart woman knows this. Life will betray you. People will lie. Opportunities will vanish. And love? Sometimes it leaves you bleeding. But here's what separates her from the rest. She does not stay broken. She rebuilds. Not softer, not kinder, but sharper. Because pain, when understood, is not a wound. It's a weapon. Every woman walking in quiet dominance today, she has scars you'll never see. She buried versions of herself that once begged for approval, cried for closure, waited for apologies that never came. And when none of it arrived, she created her own healing. Smart women don't seek revenge. They become it. They don't explain the betrayal. They outgrow it. They don't relive the past. They extract its power and use it as fuel. Listen to me closely. You are not weak because you cried. You are not soft because you trusted the wrong people. But you will remain powerless if you keep waiting for closure. Closure isn't something you're given. It's something you decide. She makes peace, not because they deserved it, but because her future did. You see, smart women understand the world will test you again and again just to see if you've learned the lesson. The mistake isn't falling. The mistake is thinking you still need someone to pick you up. Let me give it to you raw. If you're still explaining your pain to people who hurt you, if you're still begging the past to make sense, if you're still shrinking around people who fear your evolution, you're not healing. You're negotiating your value. Stop. A smart woman learns fast. The people who hurt you will sleep just fine, but your destiny won't, unless you rise. She builds in silence. She trains in silence. She levels up. So ruthlessly, even her trauma gets scared to follow. Not because she's cold, but because she's done bleeding for people who never even brought a bandage. So here's what I want you to do right now. Think of the moment that broke you, that betrayal, that failure, that silence. Now understand this. That was your origin story, not your ending. The pain you survived, it wasn't meant to stop you. It was meant to forge you. That's rule 3. And rule 4? That's the one nobody talks about. The rule that flips the power dynamic in every room and reveals why manipulation only works on the unaware. Rule 4, she cannot be manipulated because she sees the game. Manipulation only works on those still desperate to be liked. Let that sink in. The smart woman is not controlled, not because the world doesn't try, but because she's already seen the playbook. The emotional guilt, the gaslighting, the fake urgency, the charm that smells like poison with perfume. And she's not impressed. Because while others react, she observes. While others explain, she calculates. While others fall for the mask, she sees the motive. Why? Because she stopped needing approval to validate her worth. She stopped romanticizing red flags. She stopped confusing attention for love. And most importantly, she stopped explaining herself to people who profit from her confusion. You see, manipulation is always a mirror, a test, not of your intelligence, but of your self-awareness. The manipulators don't look like villains. They smile, they flatter, they understand you, they get close enough to study your wounds, and then they press right where it hurts. But smart women, they've turned those wounds into armor. She no longer gives unlimited access to anyone with a good story. She listens to what's not being said. She reads between the moves. She pays attention to energy, not words. Because here's what most people never realize. The person who needs less controls more. When you don't need their love, when you don't need their approval, when you don't need their permission, you become dangerous. And this is where the smart woman lives. She's calm, but she's not naive. She's kind, but she's not blind. She may forgive, but she never forgets. Because she knows. The first time was a lesson. The second? That's a choice. And smart women do not repeat patterns. They rewrite them. So what's the rule? If you want to stop being manipulated, you must stop needing anything that can be used against you. That includes validation, attention, being liked, being chosen. Because once you no longer need it, they can't control you. She doesn't chase loyalty. She tests it. She doesn't demand truth. She waits for it. She doesn't fear losing someone. Because she knows the highest betrayal isn't being left. It's abandoning herself to stay. That's not who she is anymore. Smart women are not hard to love. They're just impossible to manipulate. And rule 5? That's where the fire really begins. Because that's where she stops living for others and starts becoming the architect of her own empire. Brace yourself. The next shift is where most break. But she builds. Rule 5, she builds an empire in silence while they watch nothing. Here's what most will never understand. Real power doesn't announce itself. It moves in shadows. It builds when nobody's watching. It strikes when the world assumes you're sleeping. A smart woman does not perform her growth for applause. She doesn't need to post her pain to prove her healing. She doesn't reveal every move because silence is not weakness, it's strategy. While others seek validation for every minor victory, she stacks wins in the dark. While others cry for attention, she quietly collects skills, networks, and leverage. Understand this truth. The loudest woman in the room is rarely the most powerful. But the one nobody saw coming, that's the one who ends up in control. Smart women aren't addicted to the spotlight. They're addicted to freedom. And freedom doesn't come from noise. It comes from discipline. She has a timetable the world never sees, 30 a.m. While others sleep, she's sharpening. a.m. Her body, her mind, her rituals locked in. By 9 o'clock a.m., she's already hours ahead, not just in work, but in consciousness, because she knows success is not a result of chance. It's a consequence of structure. She doesn't just dream. She builds frameworks. When to speak, when to vanish, who to allow close, what to cut instantly, and when to move in silence so deep, even her enemies think she disappeared. But here's what shocks them most. While they're laughing, she's learning. While they're gossiping, she's grinding. While they're watching, she's ascending. So by the time they notice, it's already too late. She's already won. Not because she shouted, but because she never needed the noise. This is the rule that separates the chosen from the ordinary, the discipline to grow without being seen, the restraint to stay silent while becoming unrecognized. Blah. You want proof? Look around you. The most successful people, the truly powerful ones, don't post every win. They become the win. Because if everyone knows what you're doing, they can plan how to stop you. And that's what smart women understand. She never reveals the full story, because the power of her transformation is hers alone. She doesn't rise for claps. She rises to become untouchable. Now, before we go deeper, I want you to pause right here. If you've made it this far, you're not like the rest. You feel something shifting inside, and I need you to lock that in. Type the phrase, "I rise in silence," and then type it again. Do it twice, not for the algorithm, but for your own rebirth. It marks the shift from waiting to creating, from reacting to ruling. Now we move, because Rule 6, that's where everything begins to burn. The fire of the old identity dying, and a new queen, a new predator, waking up. Rule 6, she burns her old self, without mercy. You cannot lead a new life dragging the corpse of who you used to be. Most people never change, not because they can't, but because they're still protecting a version of themselves that was never meant to survive. That girl who said yes when she wanted to scream no. That woman who played nice just to keep the peace. The one who smiled through betrayal, who tolerated disrespect just to feel chosen. She's gone. Because a smart woman doesn't evolve by tweaking the surface. She burns the blueprint. This is not healing. This is war. A war against every lie you were taught about being good, about being soft, about being desirable. You were trained to prioritize comfort over courage, to keep the peace even when it costs your soul, to be likable instead of lethal. But now, you've had enough. Because the truth is, no one comes to save you. No one hands you power. You take it, and the price is everything you used to be. You don't get to rise and keep your old habits. You don't get to lead and still cling to weakness. You don't get to command respect while being addicted to attention. That's the lie most women fall for. But a smart woman, she doesn't ask for closure. She closes the door herself. She doesn't seek permission. She moves like she owns the room. And if she's underestimated, even better, because that gives her space to build in silence and strike without warning. Her power was never about being loud. It was about being unshakable. She walks different now, not because she wants to impress, but because she no longer bends. And every time the old version of her tries to whisper, "Go back, play small, be nice," she silences it with a flame, because Rule 6 isn't gentle. It's brutal. Kill your old self before she kills your future. You want to be a leader? Then bury the identity that kept you a follower. She deletes the contacts. She cuts off the drama. She leaves the room without explanation. Why? Because closure is a luxury, and queens don't beg. Understand this. Transformation doesn't come from hope. It comes from execution. This is where most women stop. They get tired, they get lonely, and they crawl back to the life they outgrew. But the smart ones, they keep walking through the fire, through the silence, through the judgment, because they know a new life always demands a death. And she's ready for the funeral. Now, Rule 7, that's where everything flips. Because once the fire dies down, she becomes untouchable. Rule 7, she becomes untouchable, and she never looks back. Let me be clear. Leadership is not a role. It's not a job title. It's not something you get when people approve of you. It's what you become when you no longer need approval. The smart woman, the awakened one, she doesn't chase love. She doesn't seek applause. She doesn't perform strength. She embodies it. By the time she gets here, she's not just respected. She's feared, not because she's cruel, but because her energy exposes every insecurity in the room. Her silence makes people nervous. Her presence makes them adjust. Her focus, unshakable. She walks into chaos and doesn't flinch. She faces betrayal and doesn't break. Why? Because she's already died once and built herself from ash. That's what makes her untouchable. Not the clothes, not the success, not the image, but the depth of what she survived. She stopped explaining herself. She stopped shrinking to fit. She stopped negotiating with mediocrity. And now she leads, not with words, with gravity. People feel her before she speaks. They sense her power without needing proof. Because when a woman fully owns herself, her past, her pain, her power, nothing can be used against her. This is what they fear the most. A woman who's not afraid to walk alone. A woman who doesn't flinch at silence. A woman who doesn't crumble when they withdraw love. Because she is no longer hungry for crumbs. She's become the feast. You see, at this level, she's no longer fighting for a seat at the table. She builds her own table and decides who eats. But don't mistake her silence for softness. She remembers everything. Who tried to dim her light, who doubted her, who left when she needed them most. But revenge? No, she doesn't waste time on it. Her revenge is her existence, her peace, her power, her presence. And if you ask her how she out here, she'll tell you. She followed 7 rules, in silence, in fire, in solitude, until there was nothing left of the girl who once begged, and only the woman who commands remained. This is what leadership looks like. Not just strategy, but sovereignty. Not just influence, but inner rule. So if you're still watching, understand this. This wasn't just a video. It was a mirror. And if you saw yourself inside it, if you felt your future rising from somewhere deep inside, then say it out loud. I was not born to be silent. I was born to rule. Type it below, claim it, twice, because now the world won't see you coming. And that's the point. Now go. Let them underestimate you. You're untouchable now, and there's no going back.